Hello, I'm continuing my reviews on the Sleepaway Camp franchise with Return to Sleepaway Camp. Now, this is, at least by release order, the fourth film in the franchise. However, between this and Sleepaway Camp III, there was actually a Sleepaway Camp IV in production. However, the company making that went out of business like halfway through shooting, so that movie was basically shelved for essentially 2 decades and wasn't officially released until 2012 after this movie. Now, Return to Sleepaway Camp serves as a direct sequel to the original film, ignoring the events of Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3, and again, 4 hadn't come out yet. You have Robert Hiltzik, who directed the original, returning to direct this one, and you also have Paul DeAngelo coming back as Ronnie from the original. You have Jonathan Tiersten reprising the role of Ricky, and spoiler, you also have Felissa Rose coming back as Angela. This is basically what today would be called a legacy sequel. Now, the film was actually shot around 2002 or 2003, but essentially sat on the shelf for 5 or 6 years because Hiltzik was having trouble finding distribution, and he was also not happy with some of the special effects shots in the movie, which, I'll be honest, a lot of the effects work in this movie still isn't that good, so God only knows what it originally looked like. But the film was finally released straight to DVD in 2008. So the plot of Return to Sleepaway Camp is it's set 20 years after the events of the original film at a camp called Camp Manabee, and we follow a troubled delinquent named Alan who is constantly bullied. Meanwhile, he's also kind of a bully himself, but what happens is many of the people who are picking on Alan end up getting horrifically killed later on. And is it Alan or is Angela back? Spoiler, it's Angela. So, Return to Sleepaway Camp. I feel awful saying this because I know this was Hiltzik's return to the franchise and return to directing, because he had actually quit directing after making the first movie and became a lawyer in New York City. So really, this is only his second film, and yeah, I'm sorry, it's awful. It really is freaking awful. I will say it's not as unwatchably bad as I thought it was going to be, but it's not good. It's not good at all. And again, no offense meant to Robert Hiltzik, and no offense meant to Felissa Rose, because I think she's actually defended the movie a little bit. Yeah, this one really is pretty bad. I will say Sleepaway Camp 4 is technically worse, but that doesn't make this one any better. Like, it's funny, people love to crap on the later Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween movies, but I'm sorry, Jason Goes to Hell is the fucking Exorcist compared to this movie. This movie even makes Jason X look like Ridley Scott's Alien by comparison. By comparison, this movie makes Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare look like the original Nightmare on Elm Street. It makes Freddy vs. Jason look like Wes Craven's New Nightmare. By the way, I actually do like Freddy vs. Jason and Jason Goes to Hell, but my point still stands, though. Like, so many people crap on movies like that, but, like, look at a movie like this. This is far worse. Like, say what you will about the David Gordon Green Halloween trilogy, those movies certainly have their problems, but at least there's a certain level of ambition to those films. Whereas I can't say the same thing about Return to Sleepaway Camp. And again, absolutely no offense meant against Robert Hiltzik, but you can tell it's been a long time since he's actually sat in the director's chair. Like, you could tell Hiltzik is trying to recapture the original film, but I'm sorry, this has none of the charm or the heart of the original. And the original's not even one of my favorites, but I still have a lot of respect for it, and there is a certain charm and quality to the original that, yeah, this does not have. And really, the make or break character in this movie is Alan. Alan is one of the most unlikable and annoying protagonist I've ever seen in a slasher film. And again, he's supposed to be our protagonist. Now, I do think I know what Hiltzik was going for with this character. I think Alan is definitely supposed to be on the spectrum, like on the autism spectrum. And I will admit, I'm kind of on the spectrum as well, and growing up I was in special education, and yeah, I've met people like Alan, so I can't say he's a necessarily unrealistic depiction of somebody like this, but Hiltzik still didn't do it well. The way Alan is in this movie, like, yes, we see him get mercilessly bullied in this, but he's also very much a bully himself. But the movie's presented in a way where we're supposed to feel sorry for Alan when he's getting picked on. Like, there's a moment when Alan is complaining to Ronnie, "Come on, Ronnie, people keep making fun of me because I'm different." And I'm like, no, they're picking on you because you're an asshole and you're a bully as well. Because literally in that part where he says, "People keep picking on me because I'm different," it's literally right after we see him flick potatoes at some poor kid in glasses. We see him bullying this kid frequently throughout the film. And I think the idea Hiltzik is going for with this is that Alan was already bullied, and because he was already being bullied, he's sort of lashing out at these younger kids. But it doesn't come through that well in the movie itself. Because when we're first introduced to him, we see him being a bully, and the way it seems in the movie is that people are just bullying Alan in retaliation for him being a bully. So I'll be honest, I laughed my ass off in that one scene during the paintball game where all of the kids start surrounding him and start shooting him with the paintball guns. I thought that was fucking incredible. Like, they take their bullying of Alan to almost religious levels. Because I think Hiltzik is trying to portray Alan as somebody who's severely autistic, and we're supposed to get mad that these other kids and the counselors don't know how to handle his autism. But it could have been done a lot better than this. Alan also has this stupid catchphrase that he says throughout the movie whenever he's pissed. "Your ass stinks." Which seems like projection because Alan does not seem like the kind of person who wipes well. There's also a moment where he's trying to ask this girl, who's clearly not interested in him, to come to his secret hideout, and then he's like, "I'm not leaving until you say yes," and he starts, like, moving around in circles and kicking the ground like a goddamn toddler. What's funny about that, though, is I've actually seen shit like that. And like I said, I have met people like Alan before, and the character could have worked if he was more well-written, but he wasn't. Again, I know what Hiltzik was going for with this character, it just didn't work. I do feel bad for the actor playing Alan, because I will say, as irritating as Alan is, he did play the role well. Now, like I said, they do sort of tease the possibility that maybe Alan is the killer, because it's mainly people who are picking on Alan who get killed. But throughout the movie, there's this cop, who when you see the cop, he's clearly wearing a fake beard and a fake nose. It's Angela. The cop is Angela, and that's revealed at the end. But at the end of the movie, it's revealed as this shocking plot twist when, frankly, it's pretty obvious that it's not Alan. Now, like I said, you had DeAngelo and Jonathan Tiersten and Felissa Rose coming back, and it was nice seeing them all again. I just wish it was in a better movie. You also have Isaac Hayes, the voice of Chef in South Park, playing a character called Charlie the Chef, and he's literally dressed like Chef from South Park. Now, his role in this movie is basically a glorified cameo. Like, he's in maybe the first 10 minutes of the film, and then he's out. Now, this film was released only a few months after Isaac Hayes' death in 2008. You also have Vincent Pastore, or Pastore, I think is how you say his last name, who's probably best known for playing Big Pussy on The Sopranos as the camp's owner. How this movie got either him or Isaac Hayes, I do not know. And it's not even a good-looking film either. It's kind of ugly. The effects work in the movie is really kind of awful. You do have some kills in this movie that, on paper, sound very creative. Like, one of the first kills we see in the movie is a guy whose head is dipped in a deep fryer, which is a horrible death, but when you see his deep-fried body, it looks so fucking fake. You also have a stereotypical stoner whose name is literally Weed, or at least that's the kid's nickname, and the killer, who of course is Angela, pours gasoline down his throat and then puts a piece of tape on his mouth that says drugs are for dummies, and then puts a joint in it, and basically the flames from the joint cause him to explode. But it's a horrible, like, CGI fire explosion. Although it does lead to a pretty hilarious moment, and I'm not sure if it was meant to be hilarious, but after the stoner is killed, his charred body is being taken away, and we cut to his friend crying, saying, "Weed! Weed!" And I'm like, if my best friend was killed, not just killed, but fucking exploded, I would be crying his actual name. I would be crying, but I wouldn't be crying his nickname, especially if his nickname happened to be Weed. At least give your friend a little bit of dignity in death. I will say there is one really good kill in this movie, and the practical effects are really damn good. A certain character gets skinned alive, and they find his body, but what makes the scene actually really unsettling is he's actually still alive when they find him. Like, that was good. That was a good practical effect, but most of the other practical effects in this movie just look really bad or just really ugly. And with the exception of the characters from the original film who come back in this, most of the characters in this movie are either annoying or completely detestable or just stupid as fuck. Like, you have a scene in this movie where this kid is sitting in the cabin reading a porno mag, and then a sharpened broomstick comes right out from a little hole in the floor. And you know what this kid does? He literally puts his eye to the fucking hole in the floor to see if the stick is there. And then when his friend shows up, somebody was poking this big broomstick up there, and both friends start putting their eye to this fucking hole in the floor. Like, if you see a sharpened broomstick come out from a hole in the floor, you don't put your goddamn eye there. And of course the kid ends up getting stabbed in the eye with it, and at that point, like, that's literally Darwinism at work. Now, I know I'm being pretty mean here, and I want to make clear, there is no offense directed at Robert Hiltzik or anybody else involved in this movie. I just didn't think it was a good movie. But I will say, if you do like this movie, more power to you. But honestly, this movie is one of the reasons I'm a little worried about the upcoming Sleepaway Camp remake being produced by Keith Thompson, because Robert Hiltzik is apparently going to be directing that, and I just hope it's not a repeat of this. Again, I don't recommend this movie, but if you like it, that's totally fine. Like what you like. So here's Joey giving his thoughts on Return to Sleepaway Camp.
Return to Sleepaway Camp is part 4. I used to think it was part 4, but I guess they just named it Return to Sleepaway Camp. Return to Sleepaway Camp was okay. It was cool too, but like I said, I wasn't a big fan of it, but it was okay. But one good thing about it too is it had the same actress like in part 1. I like this, it was okay, but like I said, part 1, 2, and 3 was my favorite because I'm the kind that, I'm the kind that likes the movies from the 80s. This movie was, over the year 2000, because in my opinion, anything over the year 2000 went downhill. I mean, that's in my opinion. I'm not saying for everybody, but in my opinion, that's how I feel. So to me, this movie was okay. I'm not saying it was cool. It was alright. It was a cool movie too. But one thing I like about this movie is they still use special effects, not CGI, and they had the same actress. But other than that, it was, I just like part 1, 2, and 3 the best out of all of them.
I hope you enjoyed that, and my next movie review will be on Sleepaway Camp 4, The Survivor.